All right, so I'm back at the dealing with the Mongol invasions and the Ottoman Turks. So with the Mongols, there's going to be this trade routes that are going to be set up, and I'll leave you a little crash course that also kind of talks about that. Um, but I want to focus more on the discussion of the Ottoman Turks because it's the Ottoman Turks that are really going to mix things up in Europe and create a strong Islamic presence, um, you know, in Europe itself, um, and it's not really clear. If you look back in history, it's possible that much of Europe could have become Muslim at the time, especially when we were looking at the siege of Vienna, for example. But I just want to mention is that the Mongols and the Turks were basically the same people with different languages coming out of the steppes of Asia. And I think this is one of those historical events that no one really sees coming, kind of thing. There are these people that lived in this very harsh steppes. I have a friend who's been out in Mongolia, and he talks about just cold and no trees and just harsh conditions, and his description was seemed to be the kind of place that you would imagine would make people hard. And you had they tended to all be open to different religions. Um, Animism and shamanism seemed to be the religion that they had, but Buddhism they took in, Christianity, and I know this seems like hard to believe, of course, but we shouldn't be surprised at this time that a very violent culture was embracing very peaceful, well, supposedly, right, peaceful ideologies of Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam. But when they embrace these things, just like we have to remember Clovis. Remember, he's got his partner who's praying to Odin, and then he decides to pray to Jesus. So the story goes, and he says, let me win, really kill these guys, and if I win, I'm switching to you. He wins, and he says, all right, we're gonna do this Jesus thing. Oh, I need to have all my power. I'm gonna kill off like all my family members. And you're looking at Clovis going, boy, you don't make Christianity look well. Well, if you notice, Clovis was doing what Clovis would have done regardless, but he's doing it in the name of maybe, your God or religion. But Christianity had nothing to do with his actions, right? I would say that for the Turks, many of them coming to Islam, um, initially was kind of maybe in the same way that the Germanic tribes were taking Christianity and some of the Norse people. I mean, you read Beowulf, it's technically a Christian poem, but it feels so pagan, and it has to deal with like kind of Germanic, Nordic themes, and then it's peppered with this Christian terms and commentary. I think this is really where you're at with Islam mixed in with Turkic culture as well. Okay, now um, the Ghazis. The Ghazis were these guys who then took on spreading Islam as an excuse. And again, I would say, look, if you look at the pattern, and again, I'm not, being an apologist for Islam, but I just want to point out the the Mongols and the Turkic people were spreading out militarily. The religion didn't matter. That's my whole point. And they could say it in the name of the religion, um, but that wasn't the driving force. But it was utilized. Now, the word jihad means struggle, and it can apply to a holy war or a defense for Islam. The word Ghazi, the Ghazis are a Ghazi warrior. These were That's more of a battle or a warrior that is claiming to expand the territories of Islam. Okay, and they go all the way up into places such as Eastern Europe and the Balkans. And we have a very famous battle, the Battle of Kosovo. just for example. And then we're going to get sieges all the way up into Vienna, like I said. So what this really means is during this time period, Islam is at odd, and Christianity are going to be kind of really seeing each other in a very intense way. And with the overthrow of Constantinople, which is going to really affect the Western shock, it will send shockwaves to the West. Just to give you an idea, if you want to look how modern politics come into play here. This is Milosevic. Many of you don't know his name as much now. He was in the news quite a bit several years, well, decade now. I'm getting old now. When there was the accusations of ethnic cleansing in Kosovo and the U.S. NATO-led bombing under Clinton occurred, okay? And but even before that time, you see up here, 1389, 1989. They're commemorating something. What's here? From World War I, this was the background of this poster is a little bit more long. I won't explain it for the whole time, but for now. But Kosovo Day, 1389. Oh, this is a World War I poster. Okay. I believe it was made in America. Obviously, it's written in English. So this 1389 thing pops up. This is when the Serbs are defeated by the Ottomans. And so why are there Muslims in the Balkans? Because of the Ottomans, the Ottoman Empire. And so this history gets invoked under current conflicts and ethnic tensions within the former Yugoslavia area. And the relations between Serbs and people from Kosovo and Bosnians and Croatians reflect many of this time period's religious tensions and superpower tensions, because what got left behind are people who some were just converted to Islam, and so they're the same ethnic people, but it's still left over from this time period and gets invoked into modern politics. Okay, so just wanted to point that out. All right, so the Mongolian Empire. Let's return to this and take a look at the area here that we're talking about and this massive expansion. And so whether we're talking about the Mongols and the Ottoman Turks, they're definitely just came out of nowhere, leaving a presence on the entire world, actually. And we'll notice that the textbook points out they were referred to as Mongolian hordes, but there was not a lot of them. They were much more sophisticated than people often think of, and they had the swiftness in which that they could ride on their horses and use of their arrows, and other kind of political maneuverings that they would do really made them effectual. And again, this affected the Christian world and the Muslim world heavily. These were not knights with these heavy armor. They were swift-moving guys that could really use their arrows quite quickly, and they were a force to be reckoned with, to say the very least. And then so by the time then that the Ottoman Empire, coming from the Turkic groups, is going to come in, we're also going to see the end of Constantinople and the rise of the Ottoman Empire being seated in the former Eastern Rome. I mean, imagine. But as we saw in the text, the Christian world was not united. Even during the siege, knights were refusing to fight unless they were getting paid. So in terms of Christian solidarity at this time, it was really shameful. I mean, from an outside perspective, you'd almost think that they deserved it in terms of just the way that the ruling class, should I say, not the average person, but the West wasn't concerned with the East, and then within the East there was elites that didn't seem to want to do much, and the Ottoman Empire was able to be developed and um, really take that place of it. And this is really going to see the end of the dominance of Christians in the East, and they're going to slowly just keep shrinking in numbers. And so that's why those patriarchs that we talked about in Christianity, the patriarch of Constantinople, the patriarch of Alexandria, and all these and so forth, are all going to be squarely dominated by the Islamic world. And it's going to leave the Western world to be really the actual, uh, stronger point of Christianity. And then again, you see here's Belgrade, Croatia, the Balkans, and we can see where you know that Islam is really coming in right at the gates. Okay, so I'm going to end here and move on to the next lecture.